The phone rang at midnight, not the soft chime of a text or the familiar buzz of a known caller. A sharp, aggressive ring that cut through the dark like a blade. I woke with my heart already pounding, reaching across the bed instinctively. The sheets beside me were empty, cold. Margaret was downstairs with the grandkids, at least that's what I thought. The manager's voice came through shaking, each word careful, like he was defusing a bomb. "Sir, we have a serious problem. Your wife checked into room 304 last night, using your name, with another man." My vision blurred. The ceiling fan above me kept spinning, slow and indifferent. I could hear my grandson snoring 2 rooms over, that little whistle he makes when he sleeps on his side. Everything felt normal, except nothing was, and that's impossible. I said, "What's he?" My voice flat and strange in my own ears. "My wife is home, sleeping next to our grandkids." There was silence, long enough that I thought the line had died. Then his voice cracked. "Sir, you need to get here now." I sat up. The room tilted. 43 years of marriage doesn't prepare you for a sentence like that. Before I dive in, let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what you would have done if you are on my shoe. And if you enjoy stories like this, please like and subscribe. It helps me keep sharing more. I didn't turn on the light. I pulled on the jeans I'd left on the chair, grabbed my keys from the nightstand, and walked downstairs in the dark. Margaret's reading glasses were on the coffee table, her crossword half done, the pen still uncapped. I touched the armrest of her chair, still warm. She'd been sitting there maybe 20 minutes ago. I could smell her lavender lotion in the air. Our granddaughter was asleep on the couch, tangled in a blanket covered in cartoon stars. Her little hand hung off the edge, fingers curled like she was holding something invisible. I bent down and tucked it back under the blanket. She stirred, but didn't wake. Where was Margaret? I walked to the kitchen. Her purse was gone. Her phone charger, the one she always leaves plugged in by the microwave, was missing too. The back door was unlocked. I stepped outside. The driveway was empty except for my truck. Her car was gone. My chest tightened. I got in the truck and started the engine. The dashboard clock read 12:17. The hotel was 15 minutes away. I'd driven past it 1,000 times. It was the kind of place people used for conventions or family reunions. Nothing fancy, nothing secret. Or so I thought. The streets were dead. No headlights, no movement, just the hum of the engine and the sound of my own breathing. I kept replaying the manager's words, "using your name." With another man, it didn't make sense. Margaret didn't lie, she didn't sneak. She was the one who woke up early to make pancakes for the grandkids, the one who alphabetized the spice rack and folded my shirts the way I liked them. She was steady, predictable, safe, wasn't she? I pulled into the hotel parking lot and killed the engine. The building was lit up like a stage, bright and clinical. I could see the lobby through the glass doors. A young guy in a vest stood behind the desk, arms crossed, staring at the floor. That had to be him, the manager. I sat there for a minute, hands on the wheel, trying to decide if I really wanted to walk through those doors. What if he was wrong? What if this was some kind of mistake, some clerical error, and I was about to humiliate myself and my wife over nothing? But what if he wasn't wrong? I got out of the truck. The air was cold, sharper than it should have been for May. I could see my breath. My boots crunched on the gravel as I walked toward the entrance. The automatic doors slid open with a hiss. The manager looked up. His face went pale. "Sir," he said quietly, "I'm so sorry. You need to come with me." He didn't wait for me to answer. He turned and walked toward the hallway on the left. I followed. The carpet was ugly. Geometric patterns in maroon and gold, the kind that hides stains. We passed a vending machine humming in the corner. A painting of a beach that looked like it came from a dentist's office. Everything felt surreal, like I was watching myself from above. We stopped at room 304. The manager pulled out a key card but didn't swipe it yet. He looked at me. His eyes were young, maybe mid-20s. He didn't want to be here any more than I did. "Do you want me to go in first?" he asked. "No," I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. He swiped the card. The lock clicked. Green light. He pushed the door open a few inches and stepped back. I stood there, staring at the gap. Light spilled out into the hallway. I could hear the faint hum of the air conditioner inside. Nothing else. No voices, no movement. I pushed the door open. The room was small, a queen bed, a chair by the window, a suitcase open on the floor, and there on the nightstand was Margaret's wedding ring. The one I'd slipped onto her finger in 1981 in a church that smelled like roses and old wood. It sat there under the lamplight, catching the glow, unmistakable. My knees almost gave out. The manager was still standing in the doorway. "Where is she?" I asked. He swallowed. "They left about an hour ago. Security footage shows them getting into a car. A black sedan. We have the plates, if you want them." I didn't answer. I walked to the bed. The sheets were rumpled, 2 pillows dented. On the other nightstand was a half-empty glass of red wine and a man's watch. Expensive. Silver band, not mine. I picked up Margaret's ring. It was warm, like she'd just taken it off. And that's when I saw it. Tucked under the edge of the lamp, a folded piece of paper. My name was written on the outside in Margaret's handwriting, careful, looping, the kind of script she used for birthday cards. I unfolded it, and what I read made my entire world crack open. The note was short, 10 words, but they hit like a freight train. "I'm sorry. This was the only way to protect you." Protect me? From what? My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the paper. I read it again. Then again. The letters started to blur. The manager cleared his throat behind me. "Sir, do you want me to call someone?" I didn't answer. I folded the note and shoved it into my pocket. "I need the security footage," I said. "Now." He nodded quickly and led me back down the hall to a small office behind the front desk. The space smelled like burnt coffee and cleaning spray. He pulled up a chair in front of a boxy monitor and clicked through a few screens. "There." He pointed. The timestamp read 11:42. The footage was black and white, grainy, but clear enough. Margaret walked into the frame first. She was wearing the blue jacket I'd bought her last Christmas. Her hair was tied back. She looked calm, too calm. And then he appeared. A man. Tall, maybe 6'2", dark coat. He walked beside her, close but not touching. They stopped at the elevator. Margaret pressed the button. The man said something. She nodded. The elevator doors opened. They stepped inside. The doors closed. "That's it," the manager said. "They didn't come back down until about an hour ago. Same elevator, same calm walk. Then they got into a black sedan out front and drove off. I watched the footage 3 more times. Each time I searched for something, anything that would explain this. A look of fear, hesitation, resistance. But Margaret moved like she knew exactly what she was doing, like this was planned. Before I continue, you need to subscribe to Deserved Revenge channel because what I'm about to reveal will shock you. Hit that subscribe button now. "Who is he?" I asked. The manager shook his head. The reservation was made under your name, paid in cash on arrival, no ID required for the second guest. I leaned back in the chair. My ribs felt too tight, like my lungs couldn't expand all the way. Why would Margaret use my name? Why leave her ring? Why write a note like that and then vanish? I pulled out my phone and called her. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Same thing. Then I called our daughter, Clara. She answered on the fourth ring, groggy and confused. "Dad, what's wrong? Is Mum with you?" I asked. "What? No, why would she be? She's home with you and the kids." "She was," I said. "But she's not anymore." There was a pause. Then Clara's voice sharpened. "What do you mean she's not?" I told her. "All of it. The call, the hotel, the footage, the ring, the note." By the end, Clara was silent. When she finally spoke, her voice was thin. "Dad, this doesn't make sense. Mum wouldn't do this. She wouldn't just leave. Not like this." "I know. So what do we do?" I stared at the monitor. The frozen image of Margaret stepping into the elevator. Her face unreadable. "We figure out who that man is," I said, "and we find her." I hung up and turned to the manager. "I need a copy of that footage, and I need the license plate of that sedan." He nodded and started typing. I stepped out into the hallway and leaned against the wall. My chest ached. Not the sharp pain of a heart attack, but the dull, hollow ache of something breaking slowly. Margaret and I had been together since we were 22. We'd built a life, raised 2 kids, survived job losses, health scares, the death of her mother and mine. We weren't perfect, but we were solid. Or so I thought. I pulled the note out again. This was the only way to protect you. Protect me from what? What threat could be so serious that she'd have to disappear in the middle of the night with a stranger, unless it wasn't a stranger? My stomach turned. What if this man wasn't new? What if Margaret had been living a double life for years and I'd been too blind to see it? No, I shook my head. That wasn't her. Margaret was transparent. She told me when she bought new shoes, she couldn't keep a surprise party secret to save her life. But then again, I never thought she'd check into a hotel under my name either. The manager came out holding a USB drive and a printout. Here, footage and the plate number. I also pulled the call logs. The reservation was made from a burner phone, untraceable. Of course it was. I took the drive and the paper. "Thank you." He nodded. "I hope you find her, sir. I hope she's okay." So do I. I walked out into the parking lot. The sky was starting to lighten, just a thin line of grey on the horizon. I sat in my truck and stared at the printout. The license plate was from out of state. Virginia. I pulled out my phone and called an old friend, Malik, who used to work in private investigation before he retired. He owed me a favor. He answered on the second ring, voice thick with sleep. "This better be good." "I need you to run a plate," I said. "Now." There was a pause. Then I heard him sit up. "What's going on?" "I'll explain later." "Please, just run it." I gave him the number. He was quiet for a moment. Then I heard keys clicking. "All right, give me a minute." I waited. My heart hammered in my chest. The line crackled. "Okay," Malik said slowly. "Plate comes back to a rental car company in Richmond. Rented 2 days ago under the name Lucas Brennan." Lucas Brennan. I repeated the name out loud, tasting it. It meant nothing to me. "Who is he?" I asked. Malik typed some more. "Hang on." Then he went quiet. Too quiet. "What?" I pressed. Malik exhaled. "Man, I don't know how to tell you this. Just say it. Lucas Brennan is listed as deceased. Died 4 years ago in a car accident outside Richmond." My blood went cold. "So whoever rented that car," Malik continued, "is using a dead man's identity. I sat there, gripping the phone, my mind racing. Margaret wasn't just hiding. She was running, and whoever she was running with didn't want to be found. I didn't go home. I couldn't, not yet. I drove to Clara's house instead. She was already awake when I pulled into the driveway, standing on the porch in her robe with her arms wrapped tight around herself. The sun was just starting to rise, casting everything in that cold, early light that makes the world look unfinished. She came down the steps before I even got out of the truck. Her face was pale, eyes red. "Dad, what the hell is going on?" "I don't know yet," I said, "but it's worse than I thought." I told her about the plate, about Lucas Brennan, about the dead man's name attached to a car that drove away with her mother. Clara just stared at me. Then she sat down hard on the porch steps. This can't be real. I sat beside her. The wood was damp from the dew. We didn't say anything for a while, just sat there as the sky turned from grey to gold. Finally, Clara spoke. "Do you think she's in danger?" "I don't know." "That note," she said. "She said she was protecting you. What if someone's forcing her to do this? What if she didn't leave willingly?" I'd thought the same thing, but the footage didn't match. Margaret had walked into that hotel like she owned the place, calm, confident. If someone was threatening her, wouldn't she have looked over her shoulder? Wouldn't there have been some sign? Unless she's a better actor than I ever gave her credit for. Clara pulled her phone out. "I'm calling the police." "No," I said quickly, "not yet." She looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "Dad, Mum is missing with a man using a dead person's identity." "We have to," I shook my head. "If we call the cops now, this becomes official. It gets loud. And if Margaret really is trying to protect me from something, going public might make it worse." Clara's jaw tightened. "So what do you want to do? Find her first," I said. Quietly. "Then we figure out what the hell is happening." She didn't like it. I could see it in her face. But she nodded. "Fine. But if we don't find her in 24 hours, I'm calling them. Deal." I pulled out the USB drive the manager gave me and handed it to her. "Can you go through this, see if there's anything I missed?" She took it. "I'll check. What are you going to do?" I stood up, joints stiff from the cold. "I'm going to Richmond. If you're still with me, you won't believe what happens next. Drop a comment below with your country so I know you're here." The drive to Richmond took 4 hours. I stopped once for gas and coffee that tasted like burnt rubber. My phone rang twice. Both times it was Clara. No new updates. I didn't have any either. Richmond was bigger than I expected. I'd only been once, years ago, for a work conference I barely remembered. Now I was here, chasing a ghost. I started with the rental car company. It was a small operation tucked between a tire shop and a laundromat. The guy behind the counter looked about 19, wearing a name tag that said Brett. "I need information on a rental," I said, sliding the printout across the counter. He glanced at it and shook his head immediately. "Sorry, man. Privacy policy. Can't give out customer info." I leaned in. "The person who rented this car is using a dead man's name. And my wife is missing." He blinked. His confidence evaporated. Look, I'm not asking you to break the law," I said, keeping my voice level. "I just need to know if you remember anything, what he looked like, how he paid, anything." Brett chewed his lip. Then he turned to his computer and clicked around. "He paid cash," Brett said quietly. "Dropped it off yesterday morning, early, like 6 a.m. Did you see him?" Brett nodded slowly. Tall guy, maybe 50. Graying hair, wore sunglasses the whole time, didn't say much. "Anything else?" A pause. "He had a tattoo on his wrist, some kind of symbol. I don't know what it was. Draw it." Brett grabbed a pen and sketched something on the back of a receipt. It was rough, but clear enough. A triangle with a line through the center. I stared at it. I'd seen that symbol before. I just couldn't remember where. I took the receipt. Thank you. Brett nodded. I hope you find her, man. Me too. I walked out into the parking lot and stood there, staring at the sketch. My phone buzzed. A text from Clara. Dad, I found something on the footage. Call me. I dialed immediately. What is it? There's a moment, she said, her voice tight. Right before they get in the elevator, Margaret looks directly at the camera. Like she wanted to be seen. What do you mean? I sent you a screenshot. Check your messages. I pulled the phone away and opened the image. It was grainy, but Clara was right. In the frame, Margaret's face was turned slightly toward the camera. Her expression wasn't blank. It was deliberate. She was looking right at the lens. And in her hand, barely visible, she was holding something. A folded piece of paper. Not the note I found. Something else. Clara, I said slowly. What was she holding? I don't know, Clara said. But whatever it is, she wanted someone to see it. I zoomed in on the image as much as I could. The paper had writing on it, but I couldn't make it out. Then I noticed something else. On the edge of the frame, just behind Margaret, the man, Lucas Brennan, or whoever he really was, had his hand on her shoulder. It wasn't rough, it wasn't restraining, it was almost protective, like he was guiding her, or like she trusted him. My throat tightened. Who are you? I whispered. And what do you want with my wife? I got back in the truck and pulled up a map. If this guy dropped the car off at 6 a.m., where did he go next? I called Malik again. I need another favor. He sighed. You're killing me. There's a tattoo. Triangle with a line through it. Mean anything to you? Silence. Then Malik's voice came back, quieter. Where'd you see that? On the guy who took Margaret. Why? That symbol, Malik said carefully, belongs to a group called the Clearview Initiative. What's that? They're not official, no records, no public presence. But back when I was working cases, I'd hear things, whispers. They're fixers, people who help others disappear when their lives are in danger. Witness protection without the government. I felt my chest go hollow. You're saying Margaret's in witness protection. I'm saying if that man has that tattoo, Malik said, your wife didn't just leave. She ran. And she ran because something or someone was coming for her. I sat in the truck outside a diner just off the highway, staring at my phone. Malik's words kept looping in my head. She ran because something was coming for her. But what? And why didn't she tell me? I thought about every conversation we'd had in the last 6 months, every dinner, every quiet evening on the porch. Had there been signs? Moments where she seemed distant or afraid? Nothing stood out. Margaret was Margaret. Steady, present, or maybe I just wasn't paying attention. My phone buzzed. Another text from Clara. She'd sent me a new image. This one was clearer, pulled from a different angle of the hotel footage. The paper in Margaret's hand was partially unfolded now. I could see 3 words written in her handwriting. Trust no one. My stomach dropped. I got out of the truck and walked into the diner. I needed to think. Needed to sit somewhere that didn't smell like gasoline and panic. The place was nearly empty. A waitress with tired eyes brought me coffee without asking. I sat in a corner booth and spread everything out in front of me. The note from the hotel room, the screenshot from Clara, the sketch of the tattoo, the name, Lucas Brennan. It all pointed to one thing. Margaret knew she was in danger, and she'd planned this, but she'd also left breadcrumbs. The ring, the note, the look at the camera. She wanted me to follow. Or she wanted me to understand. I pulled out my laptop and searched for the Clearview Initiative. Nothing, not a single hit. I tried variations, Clearview Group, Clearview Security, Clearview Network. Still nothing. These people didn't exist on paper, which meant they were very good at what they did, or very dangerous. I called Malik back. How do I find them? Find who? Clearview. Malik laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. You don't. They find you. That's not good enough. Look, he said, his tone shifting. If your wife got involved with them, it's because she had no other choice. They don't work with civilians unless the threat is serious. Like what? Like cartel level, like federal witness level, like people will kill you and everyone you love level. I closed my eyes. Margaret had never been involved in anything like that. She was a retired librarian. She volunteered at the church. She made banana bread for the neighbors. How the hell does someone like that end up needing a fixer? Unless it wasn't about her. What if it was about me? I thought back to my own life. I'd worked in logistics for 30 years. Boring stuff, shipping routes, contracts, and inventory, nothing illegal, nothing shady. But there was one job, about 5 years ago, a contract I had helped negotiate for a client moving goods across state lines. It was a legitimate deal, at least I thought it was, but a few months after it closed, the client got raided by the feds. Turned out they'd been using my routes to move something else, something I had no knowledge of. I was cleared, questioned, but cleared. I'd assumed it was over. What if it wasn't? I dialed Clara. Did Mum ever mention anything about my old job? About that client I worked with, the one that got raided? Clara paused. Not to me. Why? I think this might be connected. There was a long silence. Dad, if someone's coming after you because of that, why wouldn't Mum just tell you? Because she thought I'd try to stop her, or because she didn't want me involved? I heard Clara exhale. So what now? I'm going to find someone who knows about Clearview, and I'm going to get answers. How? I don't know yet. I hung up and sat there, staring at my cold coffee. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to. Hello? There was a pause. Then a woman's voice. Calm. Professional. Mr. Turner, who is this? You've been looking for answers. I can help. But you need to stop digging. Stop, I repeated. My wife is missing. I'm not stopping anything. She's not missing, the woman said. She's safe. And if you keep asking questions, you'll put her in danger. Who are you? My name doesn't matter. What matters is that you trust the process. Margaret made a choice. Let her make it. I felt my pulse spike. Where is she? I can't tell you that, but I can tell you this. In 72 hours, you'll receive a message. Follow the instructions exactly. Don't deviate. Don't involve the police. If you do, we can't protect her. Protect her from what? The line went dead. I sat there, gripping the phone so hard my knuckles went white. 72 hours. 3 days. I was supposed to just sit and wait, while my wife was God knows where with people I didn't know, running from a threat I didn't understand. No, I wasn't wired that way. I grabbed my laptop and started searching again. This time I looked for recent deaths, accidents, disappearances, anything in the last 6 months that could be connected to that old client. And then I found it, a name I recognized, Peter Calloway. He'd been the logistics coordinator on the other side of that contract, the one who actually got arrested. He'd taken a plea deal, served 2 years. Got out 8 months ago. Last week, Peter Calloway was found dead in his apartment. Overdose, according to the report. But the article mentioned something else. Police were investigating because Calloway had recently contacted federal authorities, claiming he had new information about the original case. He died before he could give his statement. I sat back, heart pounding. Margaret knew. She must have. Maybe someone reached out to her. Maybe she'd been in contact with Calloway. Maybe that's why she ran. Because whoever killed him was coming for anyone connected to that case, including me. I pulled up a map and found Calloway's last known address. It was 3 hours north. I didn't hesitate. I paid for the coffee, got in the truck, and started driving. The sun was setting by the time I reached the apartment complex. It was a low-income block, paint peeling, chain-link fences sagging. Calloway's unit was on the second floor. The door was still wrapped in police tape. I checked over my shoulder. No one around. I ducked under the tape and tried the handle. Locked. I pulled out my wallet and slid an old credit card into the gap. It took 3 tries, but the lock popped. I stepped inside. The place smelled like stale smoke and cleaning chemicals. The furniture was cheap. The walls were bare. I moved through the small living room into the bedroom. Drawers were open, papers scattered. The cops had been through here, but they'd left it mostly intact. I started searching, under the bed, in the closet, behind the bathroom mirror, nothing. Then I checked the kitchen. There was a loose tile near the fridge. I pried it up. Underneath was a plastic bag. Inside the bag was a burner phone and a folded envelope. I opened the envelope. Inside was a single photograph. It was old, maybe 10 years. It showed 4 people standing outside a warehouse. I recognized 2 of them immediately, Peter Calloway and Margaret. My breath caught. Margaret was smiling in the photo, standing close to a man I didn't recognize. He had his arm around her shoulder. On the back of the photo, someone had written a date and a location. The date was 3 months before I met her. And the location? Richmond, Virginia. I stood in that dim kitchen holding the photograph, and the floor felt like it was falling out from under me. Margaret's smile in that picture was easy, familiar. But the man beside her wasn't. I'd never seen him before in my life. And she'd never mentioned him. I turned the photo over again, reading the date. 3 months before we met. We'd always told the story the same way. We met at a mutual friend's barbecue. She was visiting from out of town. I was single and awkward and somehow made her laugh. We wrote letters for 6 months before I drove to Richmond to see her again. A year later, we were married. That story was the foundation of everything. But now I was staring at evidence that Margaret had been in Richmond long before that barbecue, that she'd been involved in something I knew nothing about. I pocketed the photo and the burner phone, then left the apartment. My hands were shaking as I got back in the truck. I sat there for a long time, staring at nothing. Then I turned on the burner phone. It had 1 contact saved, no name, just a number. I called it. It rang 4 times. Then a man answered. His voice was low, rough around the edges. "You shouldn't have this phone." "Who are you?" I asked. "Where's Margaret?" There was a pause. "You're the husband." "Yeah." "And you're running out of time. What does that mean?" "It means the people looking for her are close. And if you keep poking around, they'll find you first." "Then help me," I said. "Tell me what's going on." Another pause. "Meet me tomorrow. 9 a.m. There's a diner off Route 11 called Rosie's. Come alone. If I see anyone else, I'm gone." He hung up. I sat there, gripping the phone. This was it, the thread I'd been pulling. And tomorrow, I'd finally get answers. I drove to a motel and checked in under a fake name, paid cash. The room smelled like mildew and old carpet, but I didn't care. I sat on the bed and pulled out the photograph again. Margaret looked so young, happy. The man beside her had dark hair and a strong jaw. He looked like someone you'd trust, someone you'd follow. I hated him. I didn't sleep. I kept running through every possibility. Maybe Margaret had a past she couldn't escape. Maybe this man was an old flame. Or maybe he was something worse. By the time the sun came up, I'd convinced myself of 100 different stories, none of them good. At 8:45, I pulled into the parking lot of Rosie's Diner. It was a small place tucked between a gas station and a pawn shop, only a few cars outside. I went in and sat in a booth by the window, ordered coffee I didn't drink. At 9 sharp, a man walked in, tall, greying hair, sunglasses even though it was overcast. The same man from the rental car footage. He slid into the booth across from me without a word. I stared at him. "You're Lucas Brennan." He pulled off the sunglasses. His eyes were tired. "That's not my real name." "Then what is it?" He hesitated. "Garrett. Garrett Lowe." "And Margaret?" He looked at me for a long moment. "She's my sister." Everything stopped. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Sister? Margaret didn't have a brother. She was an only child. Her parents died when she was 19. She told me that the first month we were together. Garrett's jaw tightened. "That's what she told you." "But it's not true. Our parents didn't die. They went into witness protection. Margaret and I were separated when we were teenagers, different families, different lives. She wasn't supposed to contact me, ever." I shook my head. "No, that doesn't. It's the truth," he said. "Our father testified against the organized crime network in Virginia. In exchange, the family got new identities, new lives, but Margaret couldn't handle it. She ran when she was 21, started over on her own. I felt sick. So everything she told me, everything about her past was a lie." "Not a lie," Garrett said quietly, "a survival strategy. She loved you. She built a real life with you. But 3 weeks ago, someone found her. Someone from the old network. They sent a message, a threat. If she didn't disappear again, they'd come for you, for your kids, for the grandkids." I sat back, the weight of it crushing me, so she left. "To protect us," Garrett nodded, "and I helped her. I've been off the grid for years, doing this kind of work. When she called, I didn't hesitate. Where is she now? Safe. That's all you need to know." I leaned forward. "That's not good enough. She's my wife." "She was your wife," Garrett said, and his voice softened. "But the woman you married doesn't exist anymore. Margaret Lowe died a long time ago. The woman you knew was just a version of her trying to forget." I felt tears sting my eyes. I didn't care. "I need to see her." He shook his head. "If you see her, you put her in danger. The network is still looking. If they trace you to her, it's over." "So what?" I said, my voice breaking. "I just let her go?" "You move on," Garrett said. "You protect your family by staying away. That's what she wants." I stared at him, hating this, hating all of it. He stood up. "There's a lawyer in Richmond. His name's on this card. He'll handle the paperwork. Divorce, asset transfer, whatever you need to close this chapter cleanly." He slid a business card across the table. I looked at it, but didn't touch it. "One more thing," Garrett said. "Margaret wanted me to give you this." He pulled a small envelope from his jacket and set it on the table. Then he walked out. I sat there for a long time. Finally, I opened the envelope. Inside was a letter. Her handwriting. "My dearest love, if you're reading this, you found Garrett. I'm so sorry. Sorry for the lies, sorry for the life I couldn't give you the truth about, but I need you to know this. Every moment with you was real. Every laugh, every fight, every quiet morning. You gave me a life I didn't think I deserved. And our kids, our grandkids, they're the best parts of me. Please don't let this destroy that. Let me go. Live your life. Be happy. Protect them the way I couldn't. I will always love you. Always, Margaret." I folded the letter and sat there as the diner filled with voices and clinking silverware. People living normal lives, lives that made sense. I thought about the last 43 years, all the small moments, the way she hummed when she cooked, the way she'd hold my hand during movies, the way she looked at me like I was enough. It was real. It had to be. But it was also over. I left the diner and got in my truck. I didn't go home. Not yet. I drove to the coast, sat on the beach and watched the waves. I read her letter 3 more times, then I folded it carefully and put it in my wallet, next to the photograph of us on our wedding day. Some betrayals you survive by letting go, some loves you honor by walking away, and some truths you carry quietly knowing they'll never make sense, but that doesn't make them any less real. I drove home that night. Clara was waiting on the porch. I told her everything. She cried. I didn't. We called the grandkids inside, made them pancakes, and I read them the same bedtime stories Margaret used to. Life went on. Because it had to. And somewhere, in a place I'll never know, I hope Margaret found peace. I hope she's safe. I hope she knows I forgive her. Because in the end, love isn't about the truth you're given. It's about the life you choose to build, even when it's built on sand. And ours, for all its cracks, was worth every single moment. Some stories don't end with revenge, they end with release. And that, I've learned, is its own kind of strength. If this story moved you, or if you've ever had to let go of someone you love to protect them, drop a comment below. I'm reading and replying to every single one. And if you stayed with me this whole way, thank you. Subscribe so you never miss another story like this. Sometimes the hardest part of love is knowing when to walk away.